Hi, I'm Lindy, and welcome back to my channel. Today, I have the honor of speaking with Marco from Independence Arc Farms in the Ozarks, and we're going to be discussing grass-fed beef, what it is, why you might want to consider getting it for your family, how it improves your health, and how it can help the economy and small families and small businesses. So, if you care about where your food comes from, or maybe you've just heard the term grass-fed beef and you want to know a little bit more about it, please listen. We're going to also talk about some business tips if you run a small business, if you're thinking about, starting a small business, or if you have an entrepreneurial spirit. Marco and his wife Alicia have done a fantastic job of promoting their brand. Just in the past couple years, they've really blown up and they have some great marketing tips as well. So we're going to cover a lot of ground here, and I hope you stay for the whole conversation.
Well, first, thank you for inviting me on your show. Great meeting you almost in person. It looks like we are right there with all the technology nowadays, right? And I am shocked that my internet is working out here. We are in the woods, by the way. We are not far from civilization, but there is literally nothing around me besides a couple of neighbors that I don't see, and that's kind of what I wanted to do when everything happened with COVID back in 2020. We were in Florida, and I decided to kind of get away from all the masses and go into areas where kind of nobody wants to go. And that's been my kind of motto for a while. I grew up in a socialist slash communist country. Somehow we had hyperinflation as well, civil war. It was just a lot of mess. So I kind of see, writing on the wall in United States, unfortunately, and so many other countries, what's happening globally. And I just wanted to get out and start my self-sufficient farm. I didn't think it was going to turn into a nationwide and including some international out now. We started with Canada shipping. I didn't think it was going to happen to that extreme. It was more like building an ark for our family, and that's where Independence Arc name came from, as so many people started talking about it, family, friends, from social media. People started finding, somebody recommended it. We started a website. It just kind of happened pretty quickly, actually, as people were really kind of woken up from what happened with COVID. Nobody really didn't think in United States, when I used to sound the alarm before 2020, that we are in for a rude awakening, what's happening globally, and shortages of toilet paper. We had shortages of orange juice out of all the things in Florida,
Oh my
where,
gosh.
I
Wow.
mean, it didn't last too long, by the way. It was a few days, but you go to Publix and there is no OJ in Florida. I mean, so the things like this is many people were not ready for. I try to sound the alarm. I have a YouTube channel. It's not big. It's got about 600 something subs, and I've been trying to sound the alarm for people to prepare themselves, to get ready for what's coming, to be as self-sufficient as possible. So it kind of happened. We are in Independence County, so Independence Arc, building a safety for our family. It kind of really tied into the name, and now it became our passion. I just my personality is like that. When I find something I like, I kind of really go all in. But there is not many things I like. So
So
that's kind
I
of in a
found you.
nutshell.
Sorry to
Hmm.
interrupt you, Marco, but like I found you on Twitter. I don't even know how, but I just started seeing, your branding, and a lot of people that are in my community follow you and buy your meat. So, started buying from you guys, and it's like a staple in our house. Like we have a downstairs freezer, and like, that your meat is in there, and it's just so great to just take it out of the freezer, feed your family something that's really healthy, and then knowing that you're also supporting like a family like yourself, right?
Yes,
And
and
so,
mhm.
um, can we talk about like why someone would want to consider buying grass-fed beef instead of conventional beef?
Well, first I'm going to say, obviously, I'm in that business. So all of your listeners are going to say, well, he's saying what's, of course, having bias
Right.
there. This is just what I've seen based on from my own personal experience. When we first had our one of the cows, we've grown ourselves from being 6 months old when we purchased them, calves. We took them in when it was time to go. About 3 years old, just under 3 years old, so maybe 27 months. And that was like the best ground beef I've ever had. Okay. And I'm
Wow.
saying that from my own experience. Yes, some steaks, depending on the cow, they can be tougher because there is a lot more collagen inside the percentage wise in the grass fed beef. So it takes more time. You got to prep, you got to dry brine. It's not like a grain fed beef that, for the most part, not all the time, you just throw it on the pan. It's going to be most likely pretty much delicious. But when it comes to nutrients, it's not even close. There is a lot of people out there that are saying that there is no difference. There is a lot of difference, and cows are supposed to graze. Simply put it, not, if you feed them Skittles, they will eat Skittles. Okay, they're supposed to graze, and we are supposed to eat that meat, and that's just the way I see it. And I just enjoyed it. Like I said, with steaks, I had a give and take. Some of them I thought for sure were a little tougher, so I dry brined them, and they were a lot better. But some of them, like porterhouses, tenderloin filet, I believe grass fed is by far the best steak in the world. There is no comparison. I don't care what anyone says. So tenderloin filet and porterhouse. Ribeyes are 50-50. It really depends because you need more time. So I just want to put that out there for people. When it comes to roasts and all that, it's a no-brainer. Roasts are way cheaper. You got Instant Pot, crock pot, it will be falling off the bone if you're doing like
Yes.
chuck roast. It is just amazing, and it's a very cost effective. And these are the things that people need to look into, whether they're going through my farm or any other farm to table business. They need to do their own due diligence. Look at the grass fed has a lot more iodine. You're a doctor. You understand about thyroid issues, especially with women. It's basically epidemic in the United States with thyroid. There is a deficiency in iodine. You can't find it places unless you eat some sardines, which I'm not a big favor of. So some tuna, I believe, has iodine. So some fish, farm fresh eggs, but grass-fed beef is right there with them.
I actually
Grain-fed.
didn't know that. That's good piece of information. And then,
Yes,
yeah, I mean, it's like a nutrient powerhouse. And in terms of like affordability and taste, like I'm with you. Like we love your ground beef. It is so good. We eat it at least once or twice a week. It's just so simple to make. And the younger ones like it, kids like it. And then the chuck roast as well. Like that's probably one of my favorite cuts wherever I
mine
get
too.
it. But
Mine too.
what we do with yours is like it's great for like a Sunday or Saturday where you're going to be at home and it's just so simple. And I have a couple recipes on my channel about like what we do with it, barbacoa or just, regular chuck roast, like pot roast. It's so great. It feeds you for days. It's really economical. Everyone loves it. It's just like a no-brainer. So like having those kind of things to like stock in your freezer is huge, especially since like we have no idea what's going to happen with the price of beef over the next year. Look at what's happened just since 2020 with the price of groceries. So, knowing that you can get affordable cuts of meat from someone like you, throw it in your freezer, and then it's just there when you need it is
I
great.
I agree, and I would add too, like for instance, grass-fed ribs, because there is another consensus,
Mm,
especially from the carnivore community. Fat, fat, fat.
right.
Also, you got to look into that. When you look at the for the most part, not all, the grocery store meat will have really white looking fat. It almost looks like white, super bright, plasticky looking white fat. Okay, because it is grain fed, or who knows what else the cow was eating when they're in feedlots. They're called feedlots. The cow doesn't move much. Basically, they got their head stuck forward. They can do their stuff behind, but they're just eating. Okay, they're not moving much, right? So they will fatten up. The
Mm-hmm.
grain-fed cow is in the pasture. That's another reason why a lot of times you see a more leaner and tougher meat too, because the cows are exercising. They're outside. Just like someone who's lifting weights is going to have more veins sticking out and muscle versus someone who is out of shape, just being a couch potato, they're going to have more fat. Is that good fat if you're eating chips and all that? This is another reason why people need to realize cows take longer to grow in pasture land than grain fed cows. They can fatten them up quicker. That's what McDonald's and many other big chains are getting from farmers. They just buy up pennies on the dollar. The cows that can quickly produce, get to the size that they need them to be to have more meat, right? It's just not a natural way to do it. And I'm not saying that the grain fed, I would personally, a lot of times, if I'm looking at certain steaks, if I'm going to the restaurant, I said, okay, well, grain fed, delicious steak. Don't get me wrong. I have no issues with any of that. But when it comes to nutrients and overall cows' well being, they're supposed to be out in the fields working out, basically walking around, grazing just like normal. Yeah, working out, running around. They're actually running around a lot of times to go from one pasture to another, and they take full sprints. A lot of people don't realize how agile cows are. And I learned that myself when I've seen them jump over the fence from no stride, just standing. It was one of the steer I had, and it went straight up. And I'm not kidding, I'm not over exaggerating. This fence were about 4 or 5 feet, and this steer jumped up, and I couldn't believe with the corner of my eye, and he landed on top of this gate and just bended it completely with his behind. So they're very much, like I said, they can't do any of that when they are in feedlots. They need to just live normal life as much as possible, 2 to 3 years, and then unfortunately that's just the way the life is. There is their time to go, and we bring them in and get the meat to your table, and that's the process. um,
Wow.
when it comes
Wow,
to,
Marco,
yeah,
I
go ahead.
I didn't know grass-fed cows were athletes. Like I'm learning so much here. That's
They all
amazing. That
they
doesn't make
all are.
sense.
They all
Yeah,
are
that's
athletes. It's incredible. But the thing is, you wouldn't know with the feedlot cows because they just
right.
stand there. They're closed in. They can't move. So they will fatten up, and that's just little things that I think a lot of people don't understand why they're so much leaner, because they are outside. They are walking and running all day long, going from pasture to pasture. We're sitting on 40 acres. It's not like some farms, they have, 1,000 acres or whatever, but it's still a lot of room for them to
Right.
go around. And going back to fat real quick to finish that story, grass-fed fat has a little yellow tone to it. So it's very
Oh,
easy to recognize. You don't have to do any tests. You can just look. There is bright red on grain-fed color that you see at the store, and a lot of times there's just gas that they sprayed on for the meat to look more appealing. There is a lot of stuff on this people can look up. So bright red is immediately indicating it's a grain-fed and possibly even old cow, very old. That white plastic-looking fat is also indicator it's not grass-fed. Grass-fed is more dark purple, not much marbling on it, very much looking like meat from there. So darker red and a little yellow tone on the fat. So for those that are looking for fat, they should look into ribs, short ribs, dino ribs, briskets. For grass fed, if you wanted more fat, I keep repeating that because a lot of people in carnivore just say, no, I want to go grain because there is more fat. Well, you got to know which cuts you buying, and brisket and ribs are much cheaper than steaks. And I honestly say they're even more delicious. So those
yeah.
are the differences that people can tell themselves without doing any kind of research too much or anything like that.
Yeah, and oftentimes they're easier to cook too. It's just like, low and slow and they come out great. I mean, it sounds like the coloring of the fat is akin to like a conventional egg versus like a pasture raised egg, right?
And
Like of a
that's
chicken.
so
Like the
true.
color
And
looks so different. Like you don't have to like have a label. Like you just crack it open and you're like, okay, this chicken was like eating what it was meant to eat and it was out in the grass, looking for bugs and all that.
yeah, that's interesting you said that, because I was just going to compare that just from my own experience when we first started having chickens as well, and I got the first batch of eggs when they finally laid eggs. It was like the coolest thing ever, and I noticed the color was so orangey. It was like orange color. It was so bright. And then, during winter, sometimes chickens don't lay. You might have a week or two where they're kind of like trying to figure out what's going on with the temperature of, 70-degree differences out here in Arkansas can happen within a week. And they would not lay. So I was kind of forced to buy from the store a couple of times. Even though it said organic on the package, I paid more money for it. I cracked that egg and it looked sick to me. It was pale looking, it was very runny, and the yolk did not look that bright color, the deeper yellow slash orange color. And that's the same thing, like you mentioned, with grass fed beef. You'll see darker red, very rich looking versus very bright red and the white looking fat
Yeah.
from there.
Marco, I was thinking, kind of switch gears here. So, I am a little biased. I do think that spending money on groceries is really important for your short-term health and your long-term health. And I've just always thought that way. Like I'm almost 40, but like even at like 19, when I was like super poor and a college student, like I spent my money on like real good groceries instead of going out because I just like knew it made me feel better. I performed better as a student and it kept me looking healthy and young and feeling good. So, for someone that says like it's different if like you just simply can't afford this, which I totally get. Like this economy is terrible and many people can't afford like the basics right now. But if you can afford to spend a little bit more on meat, like do you think it's worth it? Do you think people could be cutting in other areas in order to feed their family like a higher quality cut of beef and, maybe like get rid of Disney Plus or like, I don't know, some sort of subscription that people have that they don't even think about?
Yeah, that's we're really thinking alike for sure. I cut out all of that a while back. When it comes to I don't have DirecTV, I don't have cable. We only get movies that are actually like hard copy, like Blu-ray, DVD, whatever, for
There you
kids
go.
and all that. We do not watch TV anymore. It's been a while to cut that out. I wanted to get inside the country where the land is cheap, properties are cheap, way cheaper. We're talking like 4-to-1 ratio, if not more, and you're getting a lot more land. Yes, there is not much around, but I really don't care anymore about fancy salons. If my wife wants to get her nails done, hair done, she can drive 20 minutes, get into town, and get it done. It doesn't have to be walking distance. I think all of that is a lot of people are just caught up in that, keeping up with the Joneses, and it's been killing people, and the inflation is so bad. And you look at people that mostly are complaining are the ones that are paying $10 to $15 now for fast food meals per person that used to
Outrageous.
be $5, and they're looking at, like, for instance, we have and other farms, we have like the bundle deals where you can get like a 20 pounds burger box for under $200, the rancher's choice. We have it all
Right.
on our website, and you can have like 10 meals out of that. One of those packages, the ground beef that we have, about a pound and a half, and I'm a big guy. I'm 6'2", 220 pounds. I can eat. It takes me a while to finish that one ground beef package because I can make 4 huge burgers. So even if I
Wow.
had 2 patties for lunch, I'm going to have 2 more for dinner, and that's basically like 4 meals, for what, $8 a pound, $10 for a package of beef that you have, versus paying 15 for one meal and taking your wife and your 2 kids, for instance, if like average family does have 2 kids or 1 kid nowadays, or zero, you're looking at $30 to $50 at the fast food restaurant meal. And those are the same people that are complaining that, for instance, farmers are overcharging for their meat or whatever the case may be. You got to cut out certain things, and especially processed food. And I think you'll do a lot better than the masses. You got to go opposite of the masses.
I agree there, and I do feel for people. I think that cooking at home is a lost art, and that's part of what I try to teach on this channel is like cooking can be simple at home and doesn't have to be fancy. And like going back to the example you just said of like going out to eat at a fast food restaurant or even regular sit down restaurant, like it's the prices are so outrageous right now. And like for example, just to like give some numbers, like I think I spend with you guys maybe $70 a month on grass fed ground beef. It's delicious. It's in my freezer. I can take it out an hour before I want to cook it. Quick thought in the sink. I have delicious burgers at home. Everyone likes them, and it's like a fraction of the cost that what you can get out of the restaurant. And it's easy. So it's quick, easy. There are no excuses, right? So I'm all about getting that and putting it in your freezer. So if you're a listener and you're thinking about, oh, maybe I should do this, don't think about it. Like go to the link below. I have no affiliation with you guys. I just think that it's like really great to find a farmer in your area or a farmer like you who can ship, nationwide and just stock your freezer with these kind of things.
Yes, and better off for people to try to do something themselves as well. I always
Mm-hmm.
advocate for that. The more small farms, the better for everyone. Even if you can grow like a small plant in the back, you don't have much land yet or whatever it is, you have to do something yourself too. But if you can't for now, to get to know someone like us or any other farmer close to them or whatever, it is so important to do that. Yes, it will save you a lot of money, and you know what you're eating, and that's so important.
Do you guys grow any vegetables on your farm? And it
Uh,
sounds like
we
you have.
have we have started, and that's been. I am just telling you, it has been. My wife does all the research. She's my MBA, all
Mhm.
that, and she's been struggling to figuring out the garden because of the weather issues
Got it.
here that we have. It's so crazy, and we were able to get asparagus. We've got some potatoes. Don't get me wrong. We got eggplants. But we weren't able to get. We got cucumber ones, which was awesome. They were huge and so tasty. So we're working on the garden, but mostly it's turkeys, chickens, and I process those myself. I learned how to do it. I've never done it before. So for those people who think, well, it's easy for you to do, maybe you grew up on a farm. No, I'm as city guy as they come. I mean, I lived in downtown Chicago on Michigan Avenue. I lived in Las Vegas on the Strip playing poker full time, and I lived in Florida on the beach. Like I am as city as more like people around me type of a person that more than probably any of your listeners. That there was the closest to the cow I ever got was when you drive and you see them in the pasture. But I wanted to learn, and I wanted to learn what to do with my own food. I do not process cows. I take them to the USDA facility and they do it there. But I process my own chickens and turkeys. I learned it. I'm not saying I like to do it. It's hard work. It's not easy, but I just want to make sure that I have that security, the arc of safety for my family. We got 4 kids at the house, and like you mentioned, food is so expensive. I want to make sure we have that. We do not sell chicken, by the way, or turkeys. It's
Are you gonna think
non-USDA.
about it? Are you gonna branch out, or are
Uh,
you just gonna go down the grass-fed
I
beef
might
route?
think I'm thinking about doing something with pork. That's what I'm interested in
Nice.
to get into that. But when it comes to chickens, it's I just don't see the margins. It's very hard for farms to make profit because we also do like free shipping too. And we have customers in Oregon, California, New York. I mean these prices when you ship cut your margins
Got it.
to
Yeah.
it's tough. And the chickens are I just don't see it work out for now. But we have it for friends, and sometimes some of our clients that are customers slash friends are buying our beef. We send them for free, like a chicken that we processed and vacuum sealed and all that. And they said it was the best chicken they've ever had, and it's so much different than from the store. It's actually you can taste even more different than beef. That's how chicken is good. Like it is
Yeah.
hard to describe. It is so moist, so juicy because they're only 6 to 7 weeks old. These meat birds, when they go into slaughter, because they get really big, they can't do much. They kind of start falling aside. It's not like an egg layer. They're completely different animal. Meat birds is they get fat and they would basically overeat and die. So you might as well just pick them up and you got to do what the farmers do. And I would suggest a lot of people do a lot of research on this. Try to get off the grid as much as possible. I understand there is family connections with jobs, but those that work from home. A lot of jobs since 2020 have that. You might want to start thinking about unloading on your property and getting a lot of land and start learning all this. And it's so much fun when you are in the country. There is so much freedom. Like if I wanted to go on the range and practice shooting, I can just go in the back here. It's Arkansas. There is just one example. When I go outside, I don't have to think about what I'm wearing if people are looking at it. If my kids are going in for a swim or whatever, I don't have to think if some creeper is looking out the window while my daughter is changing her bathing suit or whatever. It is just there, and it's doable. It's not easy, but it's doable. We did it, and a lot of people should look into that. So I didn't want this interview to be, pointing out the obvious. Food is expensive, and whatever. You got to have solutions. You got to find where the problem is and focus on solutions. And that's what I believe a lot of podcasts, a lot of people that have big influence should be doing instead of just kind of like our politicians, which I can't stand any of them in the office, by the way. That's all they do. They point out what the issue is, but don't do anything about it. And we already know this. So I just want to make sure that there are people focused on solutions. Find the problem, get the solution, get it done, and try to be as self sufficient as possible.
Yeah. Absolutely. This year, so we just moved into a house, and the former, I don't know, renter owner, whoever was here, had raised beds. So we're lucky we have two lots. So on the extra lot, there are raised beds. So today, after I see patients, after this call, I see patients, I'm gonna head to a nursery and get, just try a vegetable garden for the first time in my life. Right? I used to work on an organic farm when I was in my late teens, early 20s, in exchange for like food. So I have a little bit of background, but I would not say I have a green thumb, and that was like 20 years ago. So, just like you, like I pretty much know nothing. It's a clean slate, but we have YouTube. I'm going to figure out how to like, make things grow in my backyard. So between like your meat, getting things at the farmer's market, and just the other extras at the grocery store, it's like it's fun. It's a good use of your time. It connects you with nature, and it's just opening your brain to new things, like firing new neurons. Like there's just so many benefits to trying to be self-sufficient. So
Yeah, it's a great feeling when you have whatever, even if it was just asparagus that just miraculously
right,
come back
like I
every
need
year. You
this,
get,
right?
yes, you just, I pick them up sometimes straight out of the garden when we do have them come back out, and I just eat it like that. I just kind of try it like that, and it just, I know exactly where that asparagus came from, and I can care less.
Absolutely.
And now we
Yeah.
don't spray any chemicals anywhere or none of that, and we use, the manure from here. If we got horses, we got cows. It is just all natural how it's supposed to be, and it's the greatest feeling ever when you know what you're eating. And like I said again, I hope a lot of people listening to this show look into it and start with something small, like you said. And the benefits and the feeling you get out of that, whatever it is that you've grown, it's hard to describe. It is an awesome feeling, and I hope a lot of people experience that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like even this morning, I'm really late to the sourdough game, but I don't do well with gluten. But I started to make sourdough the past few months, and like it's fantastic. This morning I got up super early, baked a loaf even before 8 a.m., and it just felt like it was just like something nice to do. Like I just felt more connected to my own life, in this busy modern world. So whatever that little hobby is to feed your family better, like give it a shot. Like you can do it. If you don't know how to do it, look it up on YouTube. Someone will teach you how to do it.
Yes, there is a lot of info during the whole thing with COVID. What my wife did is she just tried to get a lot of books from the library, a bunch of them, and we're just
Nice.
kind of sitting out there. And she started reading, and then of course, like you said, through YouTube. And there we know there is a lot of stuff that's kind of bad on YouTube. It's a lot of stupid stuff, but you gotta kind of go through certain videos, watch what people respond on, and you see them agreeing with it. You see there is a big following doesn't mean that the person knows what they're talking about. So again, it
Right.
comes down and then trying out. You say, okay, this person said that. I'm going to try that, and it worked. And then you listen to them for other info, and go from there. But yeah, there is a lot of great stuff out there on social media, for sure. That's how we learned. But again, you still have to apply your own. The animals are different. Almost like when you see deer on the road when you drive. Out here, that happens a lot. Some of them just stop and freeze, most of them. And if you don't stop on time, you're going to hit. Some just kind of, as soon as they saw the headlights, they scatter. Some run towards the car. Animals are different. And these egg layers, the chickens, all of a sudden they start laying in the rafters up on the barn, and you didn't think they can go that high. And when it comes to broody chickens, some of them will sit on the egg and you'll have no issue. Those chickens will be born and you'll just be amazed how that happened. But then there is some that would poke through the egg and basically killed. I mean, it is weird. You got to adjust, and no books can teach that. So you got to be in it in order to adjust yourself when it comes to animals, because they are all the same in so many ways, but so different, all of them. And we're learning every day.
I love it. It's exciting. Marco, completely switching gears here. Super impressed. So this is more of like a business entrepreneur question. You and your wife have done a fantastic job of promoting your brand on social media. Like, who's the brains behind that? And what are some tips you have for some small businesses who are trying to get their name out there?
Well, number one is the email list, which a lot of people are not aware of. This is the biggest tip for those that are not aware of. For those that know, it's just, same old story, because it's all numbers game. If you have too many people reading your email, your newsletter, whatever that may be, or seeing your meat on social media, even if they're not interested in buying at that time, they might do it after the sixth or seventh time. So you want your name out there. Whether you're doing, we do a lot of promos. We'll send out free beef when we can to other people and say, listen, you don't have to talk about it. You can even say you didn't like it. That's up to you. So some of the free stuff like that comes out in order for people to see the name and go from there. So you got to be able to basically spend some money in order to make money. But the email list is the most important thing for your business as an entrepreneur in order to do. We came here with we did not have jobs when we made the move, because I left I've been teaching tennis, believe it or not, which is obviously 100% opposite of being the cattleman. I played almost professional tennis back in the day. I competed at a high level with tennis in Europe, and I left. I was I had a pretty good position in Las Vegas in a huge tennis club where I had great clients that I can do make really good money. But I left from Las Vegas because my wife got her MBA and got a dream job on the beach that made twice as much money at the time. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to figure it out in Florida and start my own tennis stuff there, because it's Florida. Everybody plays tennis in Florida, right? So
Yeah,
easy
right.
transition. And we went there, and I left a really good job. And all of a sudden, their business, which I'm not going to go into details now. I don't want to take up your whole day, but they got shut down because of COVID. So we got there with kids, and all of a sudden, I left my job, and her job was gone, vanished.
Wow.
And she tried to apply with credentials across the Florida. We were going to make a move to a different county and whatever. Nobody's called because people were freaking out, because of the
Yeah.
COVID and all that.
Yeah.
And we just got stuck like that. I said, listen, if we can make a move out of here and make sure our overhead is way less, we can figure it out. It was not an easy decision, but I'm not paying 5,000 a month for the place I'm in Florida. Where can I find something for 1,200 a month that has land and a house that's turnkey ready, which we were able to down the road within 2 years remodel certain things. Everything was dated in this house, but it was there. It's there. And we had 40 acres of land, which was 5 times cheaper than a quarter acre lot that we owned in Las Vegas. I mean, it's a joke what you can do when you're willing to take that leap of faith and take that
Right.
step and start from beginning. So
Right.
when we got here, that was the biggest thing. And then I started tennis in Arkansas. I didn't think anybody plays tennis out here. Trust me. That was one thing I did not plan for. I said we got to do something with beef down the road, even though we didn't have anything in place yet. Let's just start for us first and see where it goes. My wife got some mediocre paying job online, just working from home. We were somehow able to get internet out here, even though it
Wow.
wasn't great. And it was a lot of give and take. And if you have a mindset, if you have a mindset to win, and if you know that you're going to do well, and if you do your research, sky's the limit where you can go. For me, it's easy. For my wife, it's not. You can pick me up and drop me off in the desert of Las Vegas in the middle of the strip, or you can put me on the beach in Florida. You can put me in the woods. I'm used to it because I lived through hell already as a young man. So that's easy for me. For some people, it may not be. For most people, it may not be. But once you go through certain adversity in your life, everything comes easy. And now people on the West, of course, most likely Americans, are starting to learn how to, you know, understand that it's being on the world reserved currency as the big daddy basically all the time. Nothing can go wrong here. People are starting to realize, well, hold on, we got exposed. Okay, COVID exposed the holes in the government and in this country. Okay, and it's the biggest wake up call for a lot of people, and I think it's a great thing. I'm very optimistic for the future of this country because we got resources when it comes to minerals. uh, precious metals overall, food. We have a lot of land, especially in places like Mississippi, Arkansas, Indiana. You go through these lands. I mean, it is just amazing what we can do. So I'm
Yeah.
very optimistic for the future, but for couple of years, maybe even more than that, it's going to be really bad, and people better get ready. But it's all good because your mind is and your body is going to react to issues a lot better than immediately going into corner and start sucking on your thumb and crying and look for someone to help. That's where a lot of people we just got soft, and we can't be soft. That would I would leave you off with that. We just can't be
Yeah.
soft.
So batten down the hatches, and I like that you ended with some hope. Like, and your perspective is good because you, like you said, you lived through hell in other countries, so you have a different lens about like the resources we have here and what we can do with them. So, Marco, thank you so much. Where can people find you and Alicia if they're interested in your meat or just learning more about what you do? Where can people find you?
So I am on Twitter, as you know, at Independence Arc Farm. That's where mostly I'm very active on Twitter, and
Mm-hmm.
also our website is same Independence Arc Farm. We're on Facebook and all of that. Instagram we don't do much with. I just for some reason I don't Instagram and Facebook I don't do much. I really like Twitter, and that's where
Yeah,
I
I love
kind of
Twitter.
yeah, that's kind of
Twitter's
where
a
I'm
great
at.
platform.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. So I'll link your website and your Twitter account below for anyone that's interested. But thank you so much for your time today and teaching us about beef and what it means for our health, not only of our bodies and our families, but of this country. So I
I
appreciate you, Marco, and keep doing what you guys are doing.
Sounds good. Thank you. I'll finish off with this, if I may, just for 1 minute.
Yes.
When we talked about the email list and how to
Yes.
build it, we are
Yes.
running right now the free $300 giveaway. This is a great
Mm,
way for people to hopefully win. It's going to be for barbecue for 4th of July. So if anybody's doing any other business,
yeah.
entrepreneurs out there, this is the way to do it because people sign up on the email. They don't have to buy
Love
anything
that.
from you, but that's the way how we're doing it right now. So on our page is pinned on Twitter. People can sign up. It is free, and it's the email list, and that's how it's done. It's a $300 free giveaway for beef for 4th of July to celebrate with some barbecue from Independence Arc Farm. Thank you
Marco,
so
I love
much.
that. Thank you for that business tip. That's so great. I'm sure I learned something from that, and I'm sure a lot of the listeners will too. So you guys are
Thank you so
awesome.
much.
Have a great day.
You too. Bye bye.